Welcome back. And starting with the concern about farmer herder crisis, which took center stage at the Senate on Wednesday as the lawmakers passed through second reading a bill for an act to ban open grazing and establish ranches in the country. The passage, however, came with a slightly heated debate among lawmakers arising from a portion of the bill which proposes that the ranches be established in pastoralist states without forcing it on states that do not have pastoralist communities. The Senate also proposed a national summit on the matter in addition to a public hearing for a comprehensive solution.
Now is the time to put a permanent stop to the endless cycle of attacks and counterattacks by our people and their external collaborators.
It also means that this is also the time for us to take another look at the law that makes land to be in the hands of states.
The National Livestock Production Scheme was introduced under the Vice President. Everything was packaged, but some states refused.
We cannot resolve this issue if we are sentimental. Going by this bill, it will compound our crisis in Nigeria. Some people close their eyes on what is going on or what lead herders to go against farmers.
Every citizen of Nigeria is entitled to move freely throughout Nigeria and to reside in any part thereof.
The section you are referring to is talking about citizens of Nigeria.
Yes.
And cows are not citizens of Nigeria.
Cows
can come in from Niger, they can come in from Chad, anywhere. But cows are not citizens. So let's go to the public hearing. And I think we should combine the public hearing also with the national dialogue that we had earlier approved.
One huge and divisive topic there, and that's by no means the last that we'll hear about that topic, especially in the coming days. Moving on now, no deal yet. That's the position on a new national minimum wage as the tripartite committee ended the second day of their meeting without an agreement. This follows the suspension of the industrial action by organized labor. The meeting had in attendance representatives of organized labor, states, and the private sector. In attendance, the President Bola Tinubu had on Wednesday directed the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, to present a financial guide and cost implications for a new minimum wage within 2 days for presentation in subsequent meetings with labor. The House of Representatives is asking the federal government to redirect the focus of its negotiation with labor from fixing a new minimum wage to fixing a realistic living wage. The House is calling for a downward review of the recently increased electricity tariff. These resolutions were reached after the consideration of a motion to avert future industrial actions by organized labor.
Urge government to redirect the focus of negotiations from fixing a new minimum wage to fixing a realistic living wage for Nigerian workers.
I will urge this House to please, with the speed with which we pass the national anthem, that we should also recall the Minimum Wage Act, reconsider it, and with that same speed, pass that act. Where the executive arm refuses to assent, I think that will be the first call on this House for us to override, Mr. President.
We actually have to criminalize the part where we shut down the national grid. Shutting down the national grid is killing the same people we are protecting.
Section 31, subsection 6 of the Trade Union Act, as amended, prohibits workers and their unions from organizing or participating in strikes if they are engaged in the provision of essential services, power, water, or fuel.
I'll suggest the price of one bag of rice is 75,000 today. Let it be the list of negotiating, and now
put into consideration school fees of individuals.
The law of Nigeria recognizes that as a person, you are entitled to one wife, 4 children, and then your mother and father. These are the things that you are entitled to take care. Even in the tax relief or whatever, these are the indices and the factors given to us. And so by implication, you are supposed to have that minimum wage that will cater for this number of persons.
In the meantime, the Senate has approved a bill seeking improved salaries, allowances, and fringe benefits for judicial officers in Nigeria by 300% as the bill scales second reading on Wednesday. The approval followed the adoption of the report by the Chairman Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters, Senator Mohammed Monguno. According to the lawmaker, the increase would allow judicial lawmakers focus on their professional development without worrying about financial constraints. And the ad hoc committee set up by the Kaduna State House of Assembly to investigate all finances, loans and contracts awarded under the former governor Nasir El-Rufai has recommended the investigation and prosecution of the former governor, also to be prosecuted as some other members of his cabinet for the award of contracts without due process, diversion of public funds and money laundering, as well as for plunging Kaduna State into heavy debt. This came to the fore on Wednesday after the committee submitted its report to the State Assembly. The Assembly Speaker, Honorable Yusuf Liman, said a total of 423 billion naira was allegedly siphoned by the El-Rufai administration, leaving the state with huge liabilities. Meanwhile, former governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, has described as politically motivated hatchet job the State Assembly's adoption of a report by its ad hoc committee seeking to probe his administration from May 2015 to May 2023. In a statement issued on Wednesday through his spokesperson, Mr. Muyiwa Adikeye, the former governor said he led a government of integrity and competence during his 8-year administration. He said Malam Nasir El-Rufai is immensely proud of his record of governance and the legacy he left in Kaduna State, and such record cannot be altered by any malicious effort to use the auspices of a state legislature for defamation and undeserved smears. And to the court now. The Federal High Court sitting in Lagos on Wednesday granted an interim order of forfeiture of properties valued at 11.14 billion naira linked to the embattled former Central Bank Governor, Mr. Godwin Emefiele. Justice Chukwujeku Aneke made the order sequel to a motion ex parte filed and argued by the counsel to the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, Rotimi Oyedepo, who led Bilkisu Buhari Bala and Chinenye Ukezie in the proceedings. The court ordered the interim forfeiture of the properties to the federal government, and Oyedepo informed the court that Emefiele was suspected of having bought the choice properties by proxy with the proceeds of fraud. The properties are mostly located in highbrow parts of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. And back in the north, the search and rescue efforts have continued at the mining pit, which collapsed on Monday and trapped some miners in Galkago community of Shiroro local government area of the state. The Director Relief and Rehabilitation of the Niger State Emergency Management Agency said a joint rescue operation is ongoing to excavate the over 400-meter-long mining pit, which caved in on the miners, including the site manager, whose name was given as Ibrahim Ishaku. The police commissioner, during his inspection of the mine, said that operators of the collapsed mining site operated without regard to safety measures and the welfare of laborers. The federal government is considering suspending import duty on staple foods, drugs, and other essential items for 6 months to slow down inflation in the country. This is contained in an executive order which may also see the government waive levies on fertilizer, poultry feed, flour, and grains, and suspend some value-added taxes. The Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun, has said that the government will stop borrowing from the Central Bank of Nigeria through ways and means advances as part of a plan to curb inflation. The document outlining these proposals, according to the international media, has been sent to the president for consideration. And outside our shores, Narendra Modi is on a difficult path to becoming India's Prime Minister for a third time, a day after humbling election results which saw his majority slashed by resurgent opposition. Mr. Modi was back to be Prime Minister again following a meeting with his National Democratic Alliance, NDA, on Wednesday. The 73-year-old had found himself unexpectedly reliant on the NDA's smaller parties to reach a parliamentary majority after his own party fell short of the 272 needed to form the next government. And in sports, Nigeria's women under-20 team, the Falconets, will face former champions Germany, Venezuela and South Korea in Group D at the 2024 FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup in Colombia from August the 31st to August the 22nd. The draw ceremony took place in Bogota, Colombia on Wednesday, with 24 teams set to participate in the competition for the first time. The Falconets have been runners-up twice in the 2010 and 2014 competition, where they suffered an agonizing loss to the Germans. And that does it on the stories making headlines this morning.